Hello there, and welcome to an introduction to photography aimed at junior school children. We are going to be looking at what is photography, light and shade, and looking maybe at reflections if you like. Just check on the weather conditions outside. If it's quite cloudy and there's no shadows at all, I suggest you skip this module and do something else alternatively and come back to this when there are basically a bit more sunlight and a bit more hard shadows, so we can explain things better. Right, let's get on with it then. First of all, some basics. When they just wanted to try and name this type of technology that came out, really, I suppose in the Victorian era, they had to call it something, so they looked at the Greek to give it some international type name. So the first word, photo, which means light, coming from the ancient Greek word phos, and the second part of that would be the graphe bit, graphe, from the Greek word for drawing. So they decided to call it that. So you might have heard that word graph before, or graph, depending on where you are. So effectively, we are drawing by light. So we need light for photography. Yes, that's what it's about. So the meaning of photography today, if you're maybe to look it up, it probably wouldn't tell you that, but we're using a device to record a still image, taking pictures or snaps. Right, so let's get through it. Okay, disappear screen, thank you. So we need light, as we've said, daylight most of the time, as we earthlings need, we get most of our daylight from the sun, which appears to us as a white or a yellow sort of object. Obviously, later on in the evening, it changes colour to reds and oranges and things like that. So the light will reflect, if it's basically light will travel in a straight line, unless it gets bounced or deflected or reflected into a different direction. Direct sunlight reflects from any surface at all, and this light travels into our eyes and gives us what we see. Okay, shade, the opposite. So if the sun is blocked, shade is created. So the stronger or more direct the light, the stronger and more direct the shadows. So on the picture on the left, you've got obviously direct sunlight and a hand in the way, so you've got basically a black and white image. You've got no detail on that hand at all whatsoever. It's completely black. The one on the right is a bit more soft. The umbrella hasn't really blocked all of the light, but most of it, giving still a quite hard shadow considering the weather conditions on that one. Okay, so shade, let's have a look a bit more at shade. Shade gives great patterns, and it's a great thing to look for in your pictures. Solid objects give a harder shadow. So bright sun, solid object, hard shadow. Okay. Alternatively, strong light gets diffused and scattered, giving much softer shadows, typically clouds. Okay, so if you've got a cloudy day, you can still use shadows, although they'll be much more subdued and subtle. And this is a very basic concept in studio photography, so the same kind of rules apply. So let's have a little look at light and shade and how we can play around with our images. We've got one on the left, which is obviously taking at a creative angle, and he's concentrated on the shadows more than the figures. And the one in the middle, obviously, you've created another lovely composition there with some dramatic light and shade from the shapes. And on the one on the right, it's a bit more playful. You've designed a little mask for your face through using shadows. Interesting photography. All right. So again, another little example on the left, lovely natural scene, light coming in from the right, and on the one on the right, more subdued, softer shadows, gives you a different feel for the photograph. Okay, that's pretty much it. So we're looking now at extending your ideas of light and shade into reflections. Reflections are typically, as we said, light bounces all over the place. In some cases, it's like a mirror, or gives you interesting patterns or different angles, or it can trick the eye a little bit. Very useful. And just need to refocus your eye a little bit. These are student images taken around the premises. Again, it's just practice. So the one on the left is obviously some rain. We've still got some bright sunlight, but we're just using shadows and reflections. And one on the right, typically the red bus is totally mirrored in that puddle on the floor, and you have to change your viewpoint to get those things. All right, so have fun with that, or those topics. And you can pause it now because I'm coming up to the summary in a little while. You can do this indoors if you like. You can look at shadows in the room. Where's the light coming from? Can you photograph them? Can you create any shadows inside the room? And how did you create them? And how can you photograph them? Obviously, the lighting will be maybe artificial or coming through a window, so it won't be direct, but you can still have a little look and see how the light is working out inside. Outdoors, more likely. Can you see shadows? We're going to concentrate at shadows. Maybe there's some interesting shapes there. Maybe they're doing some patterns or stripes or something, some lights coming through some fabric where it's giving a nice pattern, or some leaves or some trees, all sorts really. So you can get busy having a look at that for the next 30-40 minutes, up to you. Try a few things out. I'm going to pause it here before we do our summary at the end. So you can take a pause. There you go. And you can rejoin us for the summary. Is that going to did that make you look at things in a different way? Yeah, which is kind of the idea, to look at things which you maybe not seen before or not really looked at. What did you notice? Did you notice anything that you know, more interesting or improve your pictures? And there you go. So well done. So that's the first one done. What more ideas can you think of where maybe at home and weekends, holidays, hobbies, interests and sports, you can apply all of those techniques to all of that type of thing. Right, thank you very much, and see you on the next one.